Welcome to the Exam Room Podcast, brought to you by the Physicians Committee. Hi, I'm the weight loss champion, Chuck Carroll. Thanks so very much for watching and downloading in more than 150 countries around the world and making the Exam Room one of the most consumed nutrition podcasts anywhere on the planet today. And today's goal is really simple, but very important. How to cook some of the favorite dishes you get in a restaurant so much healthier at home. And we're going to be keying in on one particular dish today with Chef Caryn Dugan, one half of the Doc and Chef. Welcome back to the show, Caryn.
Thank you. It's so good to see you again.
And I'm glad that you're here. I should also note that Caryn is a bona fide certified Food for Life instructor here at the Physicians Committee as well. So you have all the credentials, my friend.
I tried, yeah, but I'll tell you what, I'm an OG. I will say this, 2011, Ooh. I earned my credentials from PCRM.
Girl, you are a long time Food for Lifer.
Yep.
All right, so how often do you go out to eat, you get something and it is scrumdiddlyumptious, and you just, if you're not used to eating with a lot of oil, you really like to keep things healthy, it kind of leaves that flavor in your mouth, but you're like, man, this is really good. Mm-hmm. I wish I could recreate this at home. I'm sure that's happened to you a lot.
Well, so I'm married, no kids, so, you know Tim, and we go out to eat pretty often, right. Actually, you know, and many times it is inspiration for classes because I just recreate things that I've liked over the years,
And I hear this all the time from exam roomies. How do we do this? And I know that you have a class coming up at the Center for Plant-Based Living, which is now completely virtual. Very cool. So people can log in and take your classes literally anywhere in the world.
Right.
Super dope. But you're doing one of your favorites, which is the Mother Earth Bowl.
That's right. Yeah, we have Flower Child Restaurant now in St. Louis, and I've been several times. And they have a bowl called the Mother Earth Bowl, and it's sweet potatoes and quinoa and greens and all the things, and a pesto and a vinaigrette on that.
Nice.
So that just screams, not really to me, but well, actually, no, it does. It does scream oil, fat, even though it sounds like it's very healthy. Sure. And for the most part, it is, except for the oil on in the pesto and in the dressing. And for me, that's very easy to navigate.
Well, it's easy for you, but you've been doing this for a while.
No, you're right. Yeah. So when I go, I will eat it. So, when you go out to eat, you lose control, right?
A lot of
Pretty
times.
much.
It's I don't mean lose the easiest thing.
Yeah, and I don't mean lose control as in like lose control, but I mean like you just don't have control over the ingredients like you do in your own kitchen. So that's why it's fun for me to, go out and eat often and just be like, wow, how can I redo this at home or for a class?
Right. So the oil in this case sounds like it's in the dressings and it probably with the saute of the vegetables as well.
Yeah.
Now, when you're going to recreate this for your class, how are you going to replicate it without that oil, Caryn?
So I have a pesto already on the website.
All right.
And it is spinach, walnuts, of course, basil, a little bit of pine nuts because they're expensive, and water, maybe lemon, garlic. And so that's the pesto right there. No oil, right? The vinaigrette, to emulsify that, sometimes you can use aquafaba, which is in the can of chickpeas. That's the water. Mustard is a great emulsifier. You don't have to use oil. So you can bypass it pretty easily. And once you know, right? It's not something you can unlearn. And then that really just you're able to gain kitchen confidence and just have a good time with it,
And what about the vegetable saute? I think that can be like the hardest part for people to really grasp at first as well. How in the world can you saute a vegetable sans oil?
Yeah, there's a little bit of a learning curve. But what you do is you just heat up your pan very, very hot. Throw in, usually it's onions first, right? And get them going. So it's a really great, we call it a dry saute. Doing a dry saute is a really great exercise in mindful cooking because you have to stay on top of your food because the water that is coming out of the onions is evaporating, right? Mm-hmm. So if all that water comes out and then it evaporates, you've got a problem, right? So you want to keep everything rolling in the pan. And then once most of that water does come out of the onions and they start to stick just a little bit, keep a little cup of water or vegetable broth off to the side and just deglaze the pan. Yeah, it's so now I think that it's so easy. But there was a little bit of a learning curve. You can't walk away. You will walk away only one time.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So it sounds like you kind of have to have a little bit of grace with yourself as you're learning these new techniques.
You do.
Very few people probably get it right on the first try.
I didn't.
Nah. How many times did it take?
I mean,
Be honest. Be honest. It's okay.
So I've burned onions probably 3, 4, 5 times.
5 times, but never again.
But never
The
again.
5th time was the charm.
Well, no, because here's the thing. Let's talk about oil for just a second.
Let us.
Okay. I see what you did there.
Thank you.
Why do we use oil?
Because it helps with the cooking process and it doesn't stick to said pan.
No.
Oh,
I mean, yes.
I lied, apparently.
Yes, you are correct. However, we use oil in our pan so that we can walk away and get on Instagram and walk the dog and fold the laundry and yell at the kids, because we always have to do 12 things at once.
Who in the world leaves anything on the stove and goes to walk the dog?
Well,
I mean, I'm begging you people, don't do that.
You know what I mean,
Water
right?
saute, oil saute, just don't do it.
No, you are, of course you're right.
Thank you. Safety first.
I'll tell you, but we have to, that's why a lot of people, me included many years ago, use oil, because then you can just walk away and do a couple of other things, right? Mm-hmm. So now if you take the oil away, so we're using oil to create a buffer in the pan. That's what we're doing. But it also creates a buffer in your mouth. So between your taste buds and that food, you're not really getting the full flavor.
Right.
But you take the oil away, you take the buffer away, and wow, you have a lot of flavor. And I always tell people, I'm like, listen, you don't even know what kind of wonderful chef you really are until you take the oil away, because then you can really taste your own food.
Oh, hold on now. We just hit on something profound. It sounds like the oil is actually, you use the word buffer, but I would say like muting or blunting the actual flavor of the food. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
So you take the oil away, you almost get like a flavor explosion.
Mm-hmm. Right. You can really taste the flavors of the food without that buffer.
All right, now then, let's get real food nerdy. So how does that affect the way that you would replicate this dish here, in this case, the Mother Earth bowl, right? Mm-hmm. If the flavor is just so much more from everything else, how else do you modify the recipe so that it's as close as possible to the original?
Well, so like with the sweet potatoes, right? You're going to roast them.
Yeah.
And there's also another vegetable in there that I think we roast as well. I will sometimes put a little bit of balsamic vinegar, or toss it in balsamic vinegar, and then put it in the oven.
Right.
So you don't need the oil. I mean, you do need a little bit of liquid there. You need a little bit of moisture, but you don't need the oil. Mm-hmm.
Fancy pants.
That's right. Or you can air fry it.
Ooh.
Right?
I know you are the queen of the air fryer.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do like me an air fryer.
No, it's cool. Like, I love your videos with the Doc and Chef, and you introduced me to the sheets of parchment paper that are custom fit for the air fryer, and they have the holes in there so the air can still flow through. That's a beautiful thing.
I mean, what a cool invention.
So cool.
So easy.
Makes cleanup so much easier.
And by the way, oil.
Y'all.
I have to drop this. 1 tablespoon, 125 calories, 15 grams of fat, 100% fat, 0 fiber.
Ooh. Ooh. So so we're getting a healthier version that just sounds delectable. And like, it sounds like, we're talking about the Mother Earth bowl, but the same kind of thing could apply for a lot of other dishes that people, want to bring home into their own kitchen after they've experienced them out in the restaurant world. So is that kind of like a fun process for you? Like,
it's a challenge. I love it.
Yeah.
And then sharing the information.
See, now that's the key.
That is the key, right?
And you share this information on your website, through your classes, Center for Plant-Based Living, cpbl-stl.com.
That is it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We've got a link to that down below, by the way. Make it real easy for you. And I know that you've actually had this major transition with your business recently as well.
Yeah.
We can't wrap up without talking about that. You used to have the shop online, or in person in St. Louis, but now you're completely virtual. Yeah,
you know what? So we opened in 2019. Opened the doors in 2019. And the idea was to have this, really, I opened it because I didn't see, or St. Louis didn't have a support process for people who are trying to add more plants to their plate. I mean, we have groups, and you could always rent out a kitchen and do classes or whatever, but people really need that support, that built-in support. And then COVID hit 7 months later. And we closed down just like the rest of the world did for about 4 or 5 months. And slowly but surely, people started coming back and doing all the things. But in that time also, I noticed that there's a lot of other classes in town too, plant-based classes, which is fantastic. And I even teach at some of these other places. And then also, we all had some kind of COVID baby. So like, something happened to a lot of businesses, right? So so my husband had a COVID baby. It was a new house. So we moved during COVID. But also within my business, I started the Doc and Chef with Dr. Jim Loomis,
Right.
as you very well know. And that started to really take off. And so I got to a point earlier this year where I had to pick a lane because I was paying overhead for these 4 walls, the Center for Plant-Based Living in downtown Kirkwood, which is a suburb of St. Louis, in a historic district, so not low rent, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I had that. We have a virtual membership at the Center for Plant-Based Living, so I was keeping up with that. I was doing all the social media. And then I was growing the Doc and Chef with Jim. And I would just come home late at night and just many times bawling. And Tim would say, "Oh my God, what?" And I'd say, "I can't, this is unsustainable. I can't do this. I can't do this." And he would just look at me like, "Yeah, you're right." I had to come to the conclusion.
Yeah.
And so then finally, Jim and I figured out a way to really start to grow Doc and Chef by enhancing our equipment and doing some other things that was going to cost some money. And I thought, okay, that's it. I feel much better about closing the shop now because now I can really move forward with creating changes in this membership, which is fantastic. I love our members. And then also creating a more robust brand with Doc and Chef. So, I was doing, as I was telling Tim, I said, God, I feel like I'm pulling C's in life and I don't want to pull C's. I want to pull A's, right?
Yeah.
So it was a real tough lesson on, find out what you want to do and do it. And don't think that you can do all the things at once. You can do all the things, just not all at once. And that's what I was trying to do. So lesson learned. And so now we have the Center for Plant-Based Living only virtually, have the membership, and have Doc and Chef going full force.
If you're just joining us, we're talking life and cooking on the exam room. But you guys are super busy, and I'm just really proud of what you've become, seeing you kind of from your infancy and blossom with the Doc and Chef into where you guys are today. We've got a link off to your wonderful YouTube channel as well. Of course, links to all of your classes and cooking tips, the recipe for the pesto, all of that's down below. You are truly Wonder Woman, Caryn Dugan. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Chuck. Carroll. Love you.